Good morning, third graders. Today we are starting a new unit. So we just finished up our unit on fractions, and now we're going into something called measurement. And either some people say data, some people say data. But we're going to be working on measuring things and calculating data and looking at bar graphs, but we're going to start this unit by working with time. So in first grade, you guys learned how to tell time to the nearest hour. Last year, you guys learned how to tell time to the nearest 5 minutes. And now we're going to go a little bit further and we're going to learn to tell time to the nearest 1 minute. So just a quick review, hopefully you looked through the slides to review how to tell time to the nearest hour, to the nearest 5 minutes, went over AM and PM. And now I just want to quick review those again, and then also look at how we can tell time to the nearest minute. So here we have the face of our clock. And here I have our hour hand. Our hour hand is the smaller hand. And here I have our minute hand. Our minute hand is the larger hand. And it's going to tell us where exactly we're looking. The hour hand is the easy one. This one's where it gets a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to clear those off now so we can just take a look at the face of this analog clock. You notice that there are these large numbers, and you guys have learned that you use those large numbers to help you count by fives to figure out what the minute is. Now, you guys are also really good now at multiplication. So what's really neat, what you guys can do now that you know multiplication so well, if you want to, if we have our minute hand pointed at the 8, and we know that we can count these by fives, instead of saying 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way to 8, you guys know that 5 minutes times 8, 5 times 8 is 40. So you would know that this is pointing to 40. So if our hour hand, let's say, was on here, you would know, actually it'd be closer to here, you would know that this is 10:40 because our hour hand is pointing, it's almost at the 11 because if you look here, this one is at 40, which means it's kind of close to the 12. It's almost the next hour, but not quite. So we see that the hour hand is between 10 and 11, and we see that this is at the 8:40. If you don't want to use your multiplication facts and you want to continue counting by fives, that's absolutely okay. Whatever works best for you. So you know that when you're counting by fives, you start with the 12 because this is also known as 0, 0, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. This would be our clocks. This would be 0 minutes. Then we'd get to 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and then back to a minute. The most important ones to continue to remember are we have our no minutes or 0 minutes or our clocks. Then we need to remember that this one right here is also known as 15. So 3 is 15. 3 times 5 would be 15. This would be 15 minutes. Also known as a quarter. Here we have 30. This 6 would be 30 minutes. 6 times 5 is 30. So that shows us here that this is 30 minutes. Let's look at the next quarter hour. This one right here is 45, which means that 45 minutes have passed. Now, when you use the term quarter hours, and I'm sure you learned this last year as well, a quarter is usually 25 cents. That might seem a little bit confusing, but really what that means is, do you see how I split this up into 1, 2, 3, 4. I split the clock up into 4 sections. And just like there are 4 quarters in $1. So that's where that comes from. So what we're focusing on in third grade is telling time to the nearest minute. So these little notches right here tell us the minute. So last year, you guys would just be looking at the big numbers, the 1, the 2, and being able to tell time there. But now we're going to take a look even closer, and we're going to try to figure out where it lies on the minute. So let's say I have our hand pointed here. We know that this is 0, 0, so no minutes, and then we'd say that this is 5 minutes. But we need to figure out exactly the minute because it isn't just 5. Let's look at what this is, 5. Now we start counting by ones. These little notches now tell us ones. So 5, 6, 7, 8. It would be whatever 08. So let's add our hour hand to figure out what 08 it is. All right, now we see that it is 11 because that's where the hour hand is pointing to. Then we started here, but it's not. I wish I had my clock at school. It's not 11. It was 11:08. So let's try that again. 5, 6, 7, 8. So what you do is first you find where you're looking for with the hour hand. Next, look at your minute hand and try to figure out where it is within the 5 minutes. And then you're going to go one step further. You're going to look a little bit closer and you're going to find out where exactly these are. I want you guys to think of this, a clock is just like a round number line. Because when you're reading a number line, there's the big dates and then there's little things in between, little things that happen in between. So you are just looking to see as close as you can to where our hand is pointing. So I have a few clocks here. I just want to go over 2 examples with you. Here it says, what time is it? So we're going to take a look at this clock, and we see that this is our hour hand, okay? And I automatically want to write 8. But let's take a look at the minute hand to make sure before we do that. So I know that straight up is 0, 0. Now, you can, if you want to, sit here and go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. Or, if you look here, if you just go back 1, you would just subtract 1 minute. So it's up to you. Since we're just starting off, I am going to count. So let's see, we start here, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. But it's not at 55, it's not quite. So now we're going to look at our minute parts. So we're at 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. I'm going to write down here so I have more room. Now here's that part where it got a little bit tricky. Remember how I told you we automatically want to write 8 because it looks like it's pointing at the 8? Well, the problem with that is it's not 8:59 because 8:59 would mean that it's close to 9 o'clock. It is 7:59 because it's only 1 minute away from 8 o'clock. So if you're ever stuck with a problem like that because the hour hand is confusing you, look at your minutes and try to figure out what it's saying. Because it's 7:59, 1 minute away from me. Let's see what this one looks like. Okay, now this one I see is pointing in between the 4 and the 5. That means it's not quite 5 yet. It's still 4. See, it's in between the 4 and the 5. It's not quite 5, so it's 4. We go with the lower number if it's in between. Now, there's a few ways you can do this. It depends on what strategy you like. You can say, you know that these are 5 minutes, and 5 times 7 is 35. You can count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Or, if you know that the 6 is means 30 minutes, then you can just add 5 more minutes to get to the 7. So either way you choose, we know that 7 means 35 minutes have passed. But let's take one step closer because it's 1 more minute in. 1. So if this is 35 minutes, this is 36 minutes. So that would mean 4:36. Good luck today, guys, on your work. It's just a little bit of a review. I know you guys are great at telling time, and if you have any questions or need me, please feel free to email me. I'll talk to you later.